Ignition sequence start. 3, 2, 1. Liftoff. We have a liftoff. Tower clear.
We got a roll program.
Welcome, friends, to the Pioneers of the Independent Networks. I'm your host, Ricky Blues. This is your co-host, Tim Walker. And Tim, this week, we put some miles on the car, got out, did some traveling. Where are we coming from?
We're coming from beautiful downtown Martinsburg, West Virginia, the hometown of one of my favorite wrestlers of all time.
Really? Who would that be?
Well, his name's Doug.
Doug. Would he be a very special guest this week?
He would be. Doug Delicious.
Doug Delicious.
Yeah.
An appetite for destruction with Doug Delicious today.
That's right.
Guns N' Roses is going to sue us for that, but don't worry. It's all in the vein
He
of having
said
fun.
it, not me.
So
Ricky Blues.
Exactly. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you've joined us in the past, you know that we bring you all the characters, the matches, the promoters, the promotions that populated the Mid-Atlantic independent wrestling scene for the last 40 years.
That's a long time.
That's a lot of archived and historic information that each week we bring to you. And this week is no different. We're going to have a special guest here in just a second, so stay tuned and we'll introduce him to you. So welcome back, fans. And this week you can see our special guest is Doug Delicious.
How you doing, buddy?
Good to see you, brother. Welcome to the
see you
show.
guys. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. Always to see you guys, and looking forward to this.
If there was one way to encapsulate what's drawn us to Doug over the years, how would you frame that? What would you say to us, to our fans?
Wow. That's a tough question to answer, but when I think about the ultimate professional from the Eastern Panhandle of West Virginia and Western Maryland, the first person that I think of is Doug Delicious. Definitely one of the most popular wrestlers from the Martinsburg area that I have ever seen.
Not only popular, but well-traveled, well-versed, and what we like to refer to in the business as a good hand.
Definitely.
So it is our honor to have Doug today. Much appreciated for being here, Doug.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. I've been looking forward to this, and like I say, I've known, just until recently, me and you become good friends, and then I've known Tim for 20 plus years, so this is definitely an honor to be here, and anybody that knows me knows that I'm all about paying respect to the guys that came before us, and who laid that trail for like for me to do, and like what we've done all these years.
And that's true. That is true. That's the basis of what this show is. So with that in mind, Doug, just for our fans, if you don't mind, give us a little window into what got you into the business, and then where you got into the business. How did that all transpire?
Well, I fell in love with professional wrestling. It was probably the mid '70s. My family moved over here to Falling Waters, and just one day I was flipping through the channels, me and my brother, and we ran across WDCA Channel 20. It was professional wrestling, and it was the WWF, and I became glued. And the minute anybody says, professional wrestling, in my mind, the guys that were popular of that day and that era that you've seen every week on TV was like Paige and Morales, Don Morocco, Superstar Billy Graham, Bob Backlund, and those guys are the guys. When I think professional wrestling, and whenever I first got into the business, those are the guys I think about, and that's when I took interest.
This is definitely an interesting area of the country to be in, because you got to see the WWF wrestlers that came through here, and also you're right on the cusp of the Mid-Atlantic territory. I remember as a child coming up through like Culpeper, Virginia, and seeing posters in the windows of stores for Rick Steamboat and Ric Flair and Blackjack Mulligan. So you're right on that edge of the southern part of the WWF territory and the northern part of the Mid-Atlantic. So it's very interesting to see who you like to watch.
Sure, and like I said, around that time, this area was a hotbed for wrestling anyway. They'd be coming through town before they would hit the Cap Center and even Baltimore and whatnot. They would stop here in town, and they would compete at the local, at Martinsburg Fieldhouse. Say that was a Friday night. Then the next night they might be at North Hagerstown High School, and then the next night be in like Shippensburg. And we got to see back in the '80s, whenever we could go, because we had to save up our allowance money to go. We got to see like Barry Horowitz, Junkyard Dog, Scott Casey, Jim Powers, Paul Roma, Sensational Sherry when she was the women's champion, and Big Boss Man. So right before he hit the scene, so it was really exciting.
It was a real exciting time when they would come to Frederick. You'd see the WWF there, say in July, and then you'd see the NWA there in August at the same building at the Frederick Community College. It was always interesting to see who was drawing better, or who was doing a little bit better at the attendance wise regarding that. I found it real interesting.
It was a very interesting time, and like I say, at that point in time, I took a lot of interest in it, and we went to the very first WrestleMania. My dad, we had to save up some of our money, but my dad paid for the rest of it. But we went to closed circuit television over at Martinsburg High School and saw WrestleMania, and we were pretty much into it, and that's how I got interested. And never did I ever think that I would actually get into business. But
How do you actually get involved into the business?
well, I got involved in professional wrestling. It was actually by an accident. I was in college at the time. I was playing football at Glenville State. I was there on a scholarship, and I had hurt my knee during spring training after my freshman year, and we didn't have the best facilities at Glenville at the time to go to rehab. So I was taking a state vehicle all the way to West Virginia Wesleyan once a week to get rehab. Well, that happened in the spring. So during the summer, I came home and I tried to do a real quick rehab on my knee, and it just didn't work. I got into camp. I was overweight. I was strong, but I was overweight. I was slow. So I ended up getting redshirted. And all that year, I just rehabbed my leg, went to college, and, that spring ended up hurting it again, ended up setting out. So I came home, and it was actually the summer before my junior year. A lady knew my mom, knew Neil Karakoff out of Hagerstown, and he had just got back, him and Tom Brandy, who we all know, just got back from a tour of Puerto Rico, and she said she knew him, and he was opening up a professional wrestling school. Well, my mom knew I liked professional wrestling, and she was like, hey, I talked to this lady, and she's opening up a professional wrestling school, and I thought it was kind of neat, because I know you still watch it and all that. But little did she know that behind her back, I would make a phone call to Neil, and that would kind of be it. I never went back to college.
That would be that you're opening the door, forsaking your college career, and moving into the professional ranks.
Yeah, it was one of those things. It's like I went over to the school. I was the first person to sign up, and I think Shane was maybe Shane Shadows, which was probably 3 hours after me. Literally, we were that close to signing up together. And but yeah, it was basically I went over and I talked to Neil, and we all knew Neil. He's just a great guy, great personality, and he just got back from Puerto Rico, and he had tons of pictures, and he had the pictures of whenever him and his dad, they did all the tours in Guam, and Asia, and Hawaii.
Marshall Islands.
Yeah, and I got in that ring, and I was like, man, this is what I always dreamed about doing when I was a kid. And I knew too, with me, I knew there wasn't going to be a chance for me to play professional football. And but if I stay here, continue my education, and I might give this a try. So I signed up that day. The rest is kind of history.
As you mentioned, Dr. Tom Pritchard. Not only is Dr. Tom Pritchard a great wrestler, probably best known for some of his tag team work with the Heavenly Bodies, and also as the tag team champion in WWF with Chris Candido, but one of the best trainers in wrestling. Did Tom Pritchard have any influence on your career and your training?
Really, I did one training camp with Tom Pritchard, and he's just a world of knowledge. He really talks. Back then, he was just talking about character, getting your character, staying in your character, and being believable in your character. And of course, basic fundamentals. You know what I mean? It's like, fundamentals. They're, again, just basics. You know what I mean? I think that's what a lot of the kids today, whenever they're training, they're too worried about doing all these fancy flips and all that instead of just learning, how to do a simple, a headlock into a takeover. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But that's all Dr. Tom was all about. And like I say, I had some really good training with Neil, and it was good basic training. But then again, I just never stopped. It's like, any chance I got, I would always talk to whoever was in the locker room, when it was appropriate. And I went to Bone Breakers. I trained down there, and then I also had the pleasure of training one-on-one, hands-on experience with Ricky Steamboat, which that to me was probably, it's right up there with the match with the Road Warriors and Punk in the Baltimore Arena, because everybody knows me too that Steamboat and Savage, Randy Savage, are two of my favorite wrestlers. And of course, they had the match at WrestleMania 3, which fantastic. In my eyes is the greatest match ever. It totally, it was totally innovative, and it actually changed the floor mat of what this business has become.
Right.
And but just being able to train with him, and just one-on-one, it was like a 3-day camp, and it was held at Bone Breakers. That was another big highlight of my career. And then there again, going and training with Dr. Tom Pritchard whenever he was available. At that time, he was always doing workshops, and so he was doing workshops here, workshops there, and even today, like I've been in the business 20-some years. It's like the match that I had last night with Sean Studd. I mean, he's being trained by Booker T, and that was one of the things I was talking to him about. It's like, what's Booker telling you what to do? Because not only is he learning, but then I can learn from him. Even though I've been in the business 20 years, I don't know it all.
You never stop learning.
You never stop learning. And I'm like, well, what have you learned? What did Booker T tell you to do in this situation? Or, because, you can always learn. And, that's one thing that I was always taught too, just talking to the guys in the back, the guys, they'll take their time. There's just numerous guys that I've gone up to. They've been genuinely so nice. Diamond Dallas Paige was a guy when he came in for MCW. He's sitting over there by himself, and I go over and just a 10-15 minute conversation about, this situation, when you're in this situation. Terry Taylor was another guy. Anytime that I got a chance, whenever I would go up and do the enhancement work, just if I got a chance, kind of talk to you about this or that. Those are guys that were always, just very nice, and it's very, I'm very grateful. You know what I mean?
I think that's the definition of a true professional.
Right.
Knowing what to do, when to do it, and what to do if you're put into a really odd situation. Like, say, for instance, you're wrestling and the ropes break. What do you do? How do you tackle that challenge? I think that is the definition of a true professional, knowing what to do no matter what the circumstance.
Sure, and it's like with anything. It's like when you're in that ring. I mean, let's just be honest. I mean, your life is in another guy's hands, basically.
Right.
I mean, anything can happen in that ring, and whenever I go out, I mean, everybody knows I like to work a little tight, a little stiff, but I'm nowhere. I've never hurt anybody. You know what I mean? And just being able to get all the training that you can do, you never stop. You never stop training. I mean, the minute you think that you know it all, you don't need to train anymore, take care of yourself, that's when you should get out, because an accident is only, it's close.
A breath away.
It's a breath away. It's either going to happen to you, or you're going to hurt someone else.
Right. When everybody breaks into this business, they have trouble finding themselves as a character. What were some of the manifestations of you prior to Doug Delicious, and fill us in a little bit about how you actually became Doug Delicious?
Well, basically what happened was when I was in high school, me and a buddy of mine, Adrian Jackson, we would make up these fake programs, and we would put on these little wrestling exhibitions, and we would go to the local plaza. We made cardboard belts and all that. And I don't know, we were sitting around, and like his name was like Action Jackson. And then I came up with this name when we formed this little wrestling league, and I was Doug Deeds, Dirty Deeds. And I would play Dirty Deeds, Thunder Chief, ACDC. But anyway, we'd have these little like wrestling exhibitions and stuff, and it was all for fun. And we had a good time doing it. And I don't know why, it just stuck. Whenever Neil went, and he's like, whenever we went to go have our first show, he goes, well, what do you want to be called? And I don't know why, I just stuck with it. And then basically, it morphed, and then I got into a tag team with a buddy of mine, and we became Cruel Construction. And then I went under Doug Deeds of Cruel Construction, and then we did this construction gimmick. I wore a hard hat and a tool belt and all that. And then it wasn't until I really started hunkering down and working on my diet, and I really started disciplining myself to get in shape, because I knew if I was going to, I couldn't just stay where I was, being Doug Deeds. You have to change.
Right.
And I knew that I had to bring a different look, because I've always been a big guy, but I really wanted to get in shape. And then just one day, I was in the gym working out. I was starting to get in real good shape, and a buddy of mine came by, and he's like, "Hey, what are you doing?" He goes, "Man, you look good." He goes, "You look real good." He goes, that could be your new wrestling name, like Doug Delicious or something like that." And I'm like, Doug Delicious. So I kind of just took it and ran with it. So that's how I basically morphed into Doug Delicious. And that was probably right around 1999.
Oh, that's pretty good. Well, Doug, it's hard to believe that a whole episode has already gone by. I mean, it just feels like we just started talking. There's a lot more for us to cover, but we're going to have to cover it next week in another episode. So, ladies and gentlemen, for Tim Walker, our very special guest, Doug Delicious, and myself, Ricky Blues, we're thanking you for joining us, and we're reminding you to join us again next week as we continue this stroll down Concussion Lane with the delicious one, Doug Delicious.